Well, hello, my inky friends. It's Cindy Lynn with My Inky Fingers. Thank you so much for joining me today on my YouTube channel and blog. And if you're new here, welcome. I am going to go to my Pinterest. And if you follow me on Pinterest, you should follow this board because for today's Master Your Card Making, I had a suggestion from Joanne for the card on page 79 of the mini catalog, but I'm going to get some color inspiration. So I have this little folder and I save all these little, I don't know, paint swatches type things. And it's got some pictures and you can use the pictures for inspiration. But this is how I like to match my colors for my card making. So I pull out some inks that kind of match as closely as possible to the colors in the little swatch. And if I feel it, then I go with it. And if I don't feel it, and I'm just not quite feeling it yet, but I'm giving you some examples, so I'm just going to keep going through here. And the nice thing is, once you follow this board and start like opening the pins and looking at them, they'll show up in your Pinterest feed, which is super cool. So I like these colors because I want to use my stamps in a non-traditional way and not really go too fall because Joanne wanted to see a birthday card. So we're going to recreate this card out of the August to December mini catalog, but we're going to recreate it for a birthday. So this is a great way for you guys to see that you don't always have to use your stamps for what they're intended for. So I really wasn't feeling that pink. I pulled out the Rococo Rose and I switched it out for yellow, and I really like that yellow, but I had pulled out some silver cardstock and I'm just not feeling that the silver is going to pop, so I'm going to switch it out for gold. And I got that idea when I pulled out the yellow. So now I want to pick a sentiment, and I've got to kind of think about the theme of the card. Now, of course, I am going to switch the card up a bit, but the theme, I'm kind of going for a classy look. So I want a classy sentiment. Now, for choosing how to place your sentiment, I spend way too much time on this, and I cut out half the dies that I pulled out here. But I like to kind of play with a bunch of different dies, place them over top of the stamped image on the case because that's the actual size, and then place them on my card. So I've got the circles in the center. I'm going to show you guys what we're going to do with that. But then I finally decided on my sentiment. Now it's time to pick out the pieces that I want. So I liked the little bushy kind of arrangement on the example card, but I did a card not long ago on one of my Facebook Lives, and I was inspired by that card. And I love the layout of this card, and you can switch this out for so many different stamps. So I'm going to pull out some stamps that I think I'm going to want. And what I'm going to do is this is the circle that I'm going to end up cutting out later. It's going to be the overlay for the, let's call it a wreath. So I'm just going to very, very lightly trace around that. So now I have a guide for where I'm going to want to place all of my images. So I'm looking at this one and I'm like, I don't know if I want to use this one first or on its own. And I was just kind of like, I'm going to go with these are two-step stamps, right? So I'm going to start with the one that goes underneath, but I'm just kind of laying out my colors and I'm planning everything out in my mind. And of course, we're taking this card to the next level and we're going to blend on our stamps. Look at that. I love the way blended stamps look. It just makes it pop so much more and it doesn't lay flat. I'm just looking at my case there because I'm trying to get a visual of which images I'm going to use, and then I'm like, whoops, I didn't stamp that very good. And I don't know why my hair looks like such a mess there because it really truly wasn't, but nevertheless. So I went all the way around with the base leaves. Now I'm looking at this here overlay and I'm loving that soft two-tone blend, and I stamped them there on my grid paper and I was like, I'm just not feeling it. So I totally scratched that whole stamp. And that's the thing, stamp off on something else, play with it before you stick it on your card, and just if you're feeling it, go with it. So here I figured I'm going to use the punch and I'm going to cut out all these little leaves. So I'm going to two-tone stamp these as well. And I'm going to stamp way more than I need. And then this one, that went flying. It went all the way on the floor. I had to go look for it. It was almost underneath the bureau behind me. So I thought, okay, I'm going to win this war. I'm going to pull out my little Petri dish, whatever you want to call that. It's from the dollar store. And I'm going to keep all my punch outs in there. So now for these little, I guess they're not really an acorn. They're kind of a pine cone, right? I want to two-tone these as well. I'm loving this two-tone effect, and you can go with any colors. See what inspiration you can find from that color inspiration. I'll link that board I have on my Pinterest down below. Now here, I pulled this out and I'm like, oh, this is going to be perfect for the leaves. And then I didn't even realize until just then it's retired. It's the cracked stone, I think it was. The stone embossing folder, but it was perfect for these leaves. I mean, and my mind was set, my heart was set on embossing that gold and cutting out those leaves with that embossing folder. So I wasn't switching it. And it's my card, right? I'm allowed, right? So now what I've done is I've got everything kind of laid out, but I want some of these little leaves just as accents in gold. So I am going to perform some stamp surgery. Don't be scared. Like, don't freak out, honest. You can lay this right back down on an acrylic block with its parent stamp after you've cut it out, and it does not affect the way it stamps. So I want to take a picture of this because everything's leaving this card front, because I thought, you know, I've got these little gold leaves. Let's gold emboss these little tiny leaves because we've got the ones we punched out in gold. So I'm just going to grab my Versamark, and I've just got that tiny little leaf that I scissor surgery out of the parent stamp. And I'm going around, and now I'm like, oh, where have I stamped? My lights, it's so hard to see. So I thought I'm going to throw some embossing powder on here just so that I don't double stamp, because that would be a disaster. And if there's a mistake to be made, you know I'm going to find it, right? So I've got some powder there on the ones I've already stamped, and I'm just getting a visual, and I'm just putting them, you know, where I feel I need them. And for me, I find that the key to your card, or my card, is to just not overdo it. Less is more. And if you only put a few and then you want more later, you can always go back, but it's kind of hard to remove them after we've gone crazy on our card, right? So that one ended up a little bit messy. So I'm going to pull out my electric eraser because that erases embossing powder. It's magic. And then I'm going to erase the line that I drew. Now I'm going to continue here with the gold theme, and I'm going to do the two-step stamping for those pine cones, and I'm going to put some gold over top of them. I just thought, you know, it just popped. So nevertheless, I want to interrupt this really quick to show you the September 2020 live Stampin' Up class. This is going to be live in the Stampin' Up online class group. It's open to every single person in the world. I'll put the link down below for all of the information. But if you're a Canadian resident, then there is a class kit, and that gets you into the class for free, into the group for the month. There's going to be the live class and a live Stampin' chat with wine and fun. If you are a demonstrator or you're outside of Canada, you can totally register as well. All of the information will be in the link down below, and you get to meet my class assistant who will help us during the class. She takes care of all the questions and whatnot so that I can focus on showing you guys how to make this amazing, spooktacular Halloween wreath. So I'm super, super excited about that. Like I said, all the details are down below in the description. So back to our card. I'm going to show you how to emboss a center ring on this main ring or circle, and then we're going to color some gold in it later. So we're going to make it look super cool. You know those gold hoop embellishments? I have them, but this is a great way to make them kind of for free. I mean, if you have the gold splatter, which I'll link to my splatters video, but if you have that, just put a little bit on a block. And I use a block because the mica wants to settle and it doesn't get real deep on a block rather than like a little dish or something. And I just kind of keep swishing it around to stir up that mica. And I load that zero paintbrush up pretty thick, and I just go around that divot. So I've got all of the information on how to emboss with your dies in another video, which I'll link right up here for you, so you can go and have a look at that. Now, here I've laid everything out. I looked at my picture. I've got my circle there to kind of cover where everything ends, and I'm just pulling them out piece by piece, and I'm just putting a little bit of glue on it, and I'm sticking it right back where it goes. I mean, easy peasy. It'll end up perfect because you can see exactly how it looks, right? So the sentiment I embossed in gold. I cut all of that out. I didn't want to bore you to death, and now I'm going to die cut it out. And then what I want to do is I want to trim off the end, but I waited until this point so I could really see where it was going to lay when everything was done. And then I kind of did a rookie thing. I stopped for the night and I came back and I thought I hit record and I didn't, but I added the circle with dimensionals. But before I did that, I stamped a few more things on there, put a few more of those leaves, and then I put an arrow up so that you could see I glued the sentiment to the circle, but where it comes off on the side, I put some dimensionals there so it didn't dip, right? So I had those extra gold leaves, so I'm going to just slap those on the insert. I'm going to leave the insert completely blank because I don't know who this card is for. Joanne knows who it's for because she's making her mom a birthday card. So I really hope you guys loved this. I hope, Joanne, you liked it. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. And if you have this set, let me know if you've got some ideas now on how to use it in a non-traditional way. So until I see you guys again, take care and happy stamping!